All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg McGuire, proud to be here, the 104th leader of the best Rotary Club in the entire universe. So welcome aboard. We've got a full lineup today, so we're going to be moving through some things. On the way over here, I was just thinking about how last week we were all having a beautiful week. We were enjoying our 116-degree temperatures. We were, talking about how we were not going to pay our district dues this week, and we were coming up with a plan for that. And then all of a sudden, these two guys come in from Southern California. One guy's here. Well, I don't know where he went actually, but he's here to talk to us today about how to make money. And then the other guy, Dennis from Southern California, is how to spend the money. So we're honored to have you here, Dennis, our district governor, and your team. I think I saw Eddie around here somewhere. There you are, sir. Thank you. And Gino in the back with our membership side of the district. So with that, we have a full schedule today, and we're going to have to move through things fairly quickly. So Sean Sennett, if you come up and give us your invocation, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. If you'll bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come before you. We thank you for another beautiful day. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to come together and do your work. Father, we ask for a blessing upon this meal, blessing upon this time. Bless those who are unable to join with us today. Keep them close, keep them safe. And Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to serve you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Well done. And Suzette, lead us in a song, please. She is.
Hi, today we're going to sing America the Beautiful. Ready? Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of rain, for purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
All right, well done.
Thank you very much.
And is Larry in the house, our Sergeant of Arms? You're almost as bad as giving Russ Swain the mic, but here we go. All right, lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, seats, please. Thank you today, Bob and Lynn. Thanks for setting up. Patrick and Nancy and Katie are at the door for greeting. Martha and Rita at the counter, raffle tickets. Photographer is Jorina King. Elliot Harris, our scribe. Stu for AV. Teardown Elliot, and I thought it was Michael Williams, but he's not here, so we'll have to pitch in. And Karen, welcome back from Canada, eh? And great to have you back and helping out in the wheel. And Tina, thanks for a good turnover on that for Karen this past week on the wheel. Okay, if you could take the microphone to our friend Mark from Ireland. He's got a couple guests here with him, and he is a guest.
My Irish lad came back.
Yes,
And he
congressman. He's a congressman.
Two new Rotarians.
All right, very good.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, President Greg, and the District Governor. Yeah, I'm back from District 1160, the Rotary Club of Donaghadee, and I'm very happy to be once again with the Rotary family. I just wanted today to bring along two people with me, and they're the reason why I'm here today. First of all, a couple of years ago, I had several strokes, and William Thompson, who is with me, helped me rehabilitate myself. When I first met William, I couldn't get up or get down. In fact, I walked into his gym with 2 walking sticks. So William is here today, and I just want to say a very big thank you to him. Very quickly, but very, very importantly, we're here because his son is debuting as a professional boxer. He's having his first professional fight in Mexico on Saturday, the 22nd of August. And Scott, who is 20 years old, has won everything that there is to win in Ireland. And, you know, he's here. He's going to be based in Vegas. He's with top rank professional boxing. And it's a bit like when you get a sort of an inside story about buying stock when it's cheap. He's here today. He's going to be based over here. And I think I've asked him to stay afterwards with his dad, maybe to chat to some people, because we need a wee bit of advice, a wee bit of knowledge about how to go forward in this great city. So thank you very much, Rotarians, for once again accepting my presence today. And my greetings from our club in Donaghadee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much for bringing your guests and introducing them.
And Scott, I don't know if we have any boxers. Scott, I don't know if we have any boxers in the group, Scott. But I know there's a few of us been in a few bar fights, so maybe that'll, you know, if you need some training, all right? Okay, any visiting Rotarians today? RAG, Bruce McKenzie. Welcome, Bruce. Thank you. Guest Rotarians. I know Sean's got a guest. Who do you have here with you today?
This is my youngest son, Corey, who just returned from his 2-year mission for our church. He was in Canada.
So he was working in Canada, and Karen was fishing in Canada. Okay, I see how it goes. Welcome. Any other guests? Gwen? Yep.
My guest is Courtney Davis, and she is the director at the Beverly Theater, a lovely place to have events, and I might have been there. She's also came as a guest in June of Janice and decided this is the place she would like to join.
Fantastic.
So, welcome.
Welcome back.
And we all think you look good in your sports jacket.
I know. Thank you, Gwen. I appreciate
Speak for
that.
yourself.
Right? Don't get used to it. Okay. Anybody else in the back? Andrew's got a few guests, and Carolyn.
Thank you, sir. My guest today is Daniel Spirelli, Business Banking Relationship Manager at U.S. Bank, and Mr. Jesse Livingston, Private Wealth Advisor with U.S. Bank Private Wealth Management.
Okay. If you don't know what to do with your money when you leave here, you're in trouble.
And real quickly, I'm introducing also a guest of the club who's already applied for membership, Mr. Peter Giacconi.
Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right, that's it, I think. And up, we got more? Okay. Oh, Sarah, okay.
Thank you. As our back to business theme continues this year, I brought my friend Valerie. Valerie owns Finnish Auto Spa. She is a small business owner. Finnish Auto Spa is a detailing company, and we were doing a back to school drive where she donated a ton of school supplies for local schools, and so I'm so happy to have her here today. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, and I know we have a bunch of our Northern Trust friends here today. If you could just stand up and be recognized. Thank you for coming. Thank you. That's wise. You got, that's very smart. You guys all spread out and talk to different people. I see what you're doing here. Okay, with that, we have our head table. Our guest speaker today is Joe Tanius. He just flew in from Southern California, San Diego, so welcome, Joe. Our DG, District Governor, Dennis Franklin, is here. Welcome, Dennis. He's got some words for us in a few minutes. And we have our AG, Bruce McKenzie. You met him earlier, and David Thorson, past President David Thorson, District Governor nominee. Okay, very good. And Jarena, if we get a picture over here.
In the meantime, let me introduce our exchange student from Germany, Justus Hild, everybody. Justus Hild from Germany.
Welcome, Eustace. And he started school this week, right? Okay, very good. Do a great job over there. What school are you going to? Durango. Okay. They named a casino after that high school, I think. So, you know. Okay, very good. Thank you. And Gino, welcome back there. Thank you, sir, for being. Gino's a big friend of the club. It's helped us out a lot. You'll see him on Saturdays talking about membership and a lot of different things like that. In the wheel this week, we have Rotary around the nation. We're spotlighted the Rotary Club of Melbourne Beach, Florida, and Rotary around the world is the Club Parnell of New Zealand. Our member spotlight is Sean Sennett. Check out Sean. Appreciate that, Sean. And with we have a number of announcements, but we're going to kind of gloss over them today because we got to get moving. I do want to thank everybody that came to the backpack stuffing. You see the backpacks up there. We have 100 backpacks that donated by Amazon that we had our Rotarians get together at my house earlier this week. We packed 100 of those, and we're going to be giving those out, I think, on August 21st, right, Gwen? Okay, so you'll look for the Club Runner invite for that. Rosalie, awesome job on the Fusion trip this week. We had about 25 people, I think, show up for that, for the drones. I took about 2 of those drones home with me, so if they're looking for them, they're only $30,000 a piece. Larry, we have orientation next week, so a Club Runner invite went out for that at past President Katie Crockett's house. Wetzel Award, Stockton is here. We're going to be doing that. You'll see our Wetzel Award winners next week. Alpine Picnic, that's going to, on August 29th, sign up for a dish. And with that, I think we're going to introduce Dennis to come up and say a few words. So if you haven't met our District Governor, Dennis Franklin, him and his wife, Tricia, live in Glendora, California. He's a past president of the Glendora Club. And they have been married for 40 years. That's fantastic.
41 now.
41. Boy, a lot happened in the 3 days since I got this bio here. They have 2 adult children, Lauren and Grace. They're also proud parents of the cutest baby girl in the world, Miss Quinn Robinson. So at the end of 2025, Dennis retired from his position as First Vice President of Investments at Wells Fargo. He was a partner in a wealth management team that oversaw $1 billion worth of client assets. A couple interesting facts about Dennis. He's a bachelor's degree in theology, runs a small research-based Christian fellowship, and he's part owner of, on the opposite spectrum, Angry Horse Brewing in Montebello, California. In regard to Rotary, since joining, he's made it a point to show up wherever he could and be of help. He's a past president of 2 clubs, Monrovia and Glendora, and he served as AG, Assistant Governor, Executive Assistant District Governor, and chaired a number of district committees. Thank you, Dennis, for taking time to be here with us today. The mic is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And then what time do you need to go?
About 5 feet.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for having me. This is great to be here. One of my favorite clubs to come and visit. You guys are great. It's really a fun place to be. And just so you know, you had mentioned about the temperature out there, that I prepared before coming up here because I know the weather coming way up north here, I have to be prepared. It might be really cold out. And I thought I would start by sharing a little story about Nevada, how I almost died because of the snow and ice in Nevada. And when I was in college, I was in Gunnison, Colorado, and I was going to see my now wife in Vallejo, California. And we're driving across. We get to the mountains of Nevada, and we're driving along. I'm in my friend Carl Miller's Camaro. the mountains on this side, there's a canyon down here. We go to take the turn, and we're just driving at the regular speeds and all. Thank you very much. All right, and what happened was the snow that was on top of the mountain, it was a cliff over here, during the day was melting, and the water went onto the road. So we go around this corner, and we just hit black ice. And instead of going around the corner, the car just continued straight. So we go off the cliff. And it was slow motion happening. And here we are, we're going to die. And we come off this cliff, which obviously I didn't, by the way, in case you noticed. All right, and so we come off the cliff, and we're at the treetops. We land in about 5 feet of snow. The car had a little bit of damage because it had the fiberglass thing. And other than that, it was like, hey, we made it. But, so I always prepare for snow and ice whenever I come to Nevada. Right. So, anyway, the reason I bring that up, you see the pictures of Quinn there. He mentioned that she was the cutest baby in the world. Had I died, there wouldn't be a Lauren and a Grace. And had I died, there wouldn't be a Quinn, right? Luckily, I lived. All right. So, and I thought about you guys, how Vegas Rotary, if there wasn't a Vegas Rotary, would there be 8 other clubs in the area that you guys birthed? And would there be the clubs that they birthed because you birthed them, kind of like my granddaughter? The impact that we have sometimes is so much bigger than we realize. We're sitting there, we're just driving to see my girlfriend in California. I don't realize what's going to happen. And here's Quinn today, and here's, 16, 17 clubs now here in Nevada, Gino? So, pretty cool. So thank you, Nevada, for Las Vegas Rotary. Give yourselves a hand on that. So I suppose I should start by explaining a little bit about who a district governor is, what exactly I do. The district governor is in charge of a geographic area for Rotary International. The geographic area that is in our district, District 5300, goes from the Nevada border of Utah, Mesquite, all the way out to Pahrump in the Vegas area, down the 15 corridor to Rancho Cucamonga, Ontario, if you're familiar with 15 as you go down, and then west to East LA, and then north to Lancaster and Palmdale. So it's a huge footprint. It's about 6.5 hours from end to end if there's no traffic, but usually it's a couple of days to get from one side to the other. That was a joke about LA traffic, so, okay. But my job is to serve and support the clubs. That's what I'm responsible to do. What I'm looking at is when I come and see the clubs, I want to thank them and recognize them for everything that they do. I mean, what we do is absolutely incredible. And like I say, it's not just your club, but it's the legacy that you've left for other clubs. And you guys are just awesome. You're an anchor for this area. I want to recognize a couple of people. Bruce helps me. He's an area governor, and he's over 4 of the clubs here. Bruce, what clubs are you over?
This one, obviously. And the one club, which is close by, Downtown Club, and
Pahrump.
Pahrump. My new one, I have to get out there.
There you go. So yeah, so he helps, and you'll see him a lot more often than you'll see me, just because, again, he's in the local area, so he's a resource for you. We have Eddie Williams. Where's Eddie at? Is it? Right here. Eddie is my chief of staff. Eddie does a lot of my administrative work, and again, if you need help on things, Eddie can help you navigate some of that. Thank you, Eddie. And then, of course, you already know Gino helps with our membership. And then there's a number of people in the club here who have helped over the years. I said hello to Kimberly someplace. Where's Kimberly help with our Rotary Youth Exchange? And Mike is here with the Rotary Youth Exchange with Justice. Thank you. Very, very, very nice on that. Who else is here? I got Rampur, I know, with the Rotary Fellowship. There we go. Here we go. Exchange. So thank you, Rampur. Who else we got here? There's a number of people. I know I'm going to miss people now. I should have thought about this ahead of time. But anyway, thank you all for everything that you do. So one of the things that I talked to Andrew about is that the emphasis this year, when I talked to everybody before coming in as the district governor, I asked, what's the most important thing that we can help you with? Can anybody guess what the answer might have been? Membership, exactly. I mean, 95% of the people that I asked, how can I help you? What can I do for you? That's what came back to us. But as we thought about it, what we thought about was membership isn't really about the numbers. That's great. But really what we're after is the impact. More members means more resources. It means more manpower. It means that we have more finances. It means that we can have more impact and do things in our communities, and we can change lives. And I just think about my own journey. I moved out here to California in the year 2000. We really didn't know much of anybody, but I wanted to get involved in the community. I wanted to get to know people. And I wanted to have purpose. So I joined the Monrovia Rotary Club. And right off the bat, we got right involved. Probably within 6 months, I felt like I knew everybody in town, and everything that was going on, we were a part of it. We were involved in one way or another, and it was really great. I felt like I fit in. And what I see is that people join Rotary because they want connections. They join it because they want a sense of belonging and community. And they also want to make a difference and have purpose. And you guys do such a great job with that. So when people ask, has anybody ever asked you, what is Rotary? All right. So it's kind of a difficult question to answer, but it's really not. Because when people ask about what is Rotary, one of the things that we do is just, it's a group of people that get together to make a difference, to make change in the world, to have an impact. And then tell them your story. That's what we do. My club, tell them the story. Hey, we do a food packaging. We package 30,000 meals for our local food bank. Hey, we do this vision thing where we give glasses to the kids in our school systems. They all of a sudden have sight where they didn't before. They were struggling. We do the scholarships. We do the mini grants. We do movies in the park. We do flag displays. We do all these things to make our community more of a community place. And you guys do that. I think about inviting people in. And okay, I want to invite somebody in, and let's say Courtney. Thank you so much for being here today, right? So Courtney, we're inviting you. Well, what are we inviting Courtney into? We're inviting Courtney into the Las Vegas Rotary Club, the Rotary Club of Las Vegas. And I love that you guys are branded. Las Vegas has a brand, right? Everybody around the world knows who Las Vegas is. People know who the Rotary Club of Las Vegas is also. When I was going on your website, I loved it, that it says, our members are a diverse group of professionals united by a passion for service. I kind of know who you guys are. That tells me. To me, that says that you're that traditional club that connects the resources and the experts from a specific group of people, and you have a specific purpose. This is what we're doing. The purpose on this thing is our mission is to build a stronger future in the Southern Nevada and beyond by empowering youth, to succeed through education, literacy, and leadership development. And then looking at all the things that you do, you deliver on that. I was talking to Greg yesterday, and he was a pain in the neck because he kept coming with all this stuff. Hey, Greg, what do you do? Well, we do this, and we do this, and we do this, and we do this, and we do. How long did we talk, Greg? A couple hours. Yeah, he was like bragging the whole time about you guys, except for Bob. He wasn't bragging about Bob at all. So with that, with kids, spreading the word in Nevada, $25,000 a year. Thank you, Tom, wherever you're at. I know that you've driven a lot of that. The valedictorian luncheon, what a great way to honor kids that have excellence in what they're doing. Or how about the UNLV medallion, where you're giving scholarships and opportunities, the community grants, or how about the other end of the spectrum with the Ronald McDonald House? And is that where these backpacks are going? They go to our schools, our 6 schools. Yeah. So helping kids across the spectrum, and the list goes on and on and on. I just see it as such a big deal. But the things that we do impact people. I think about my own life, and it's not only does it impact the people that we serve, but it impacts us as well. You see the granddaughter up there. I have 2 daughters. I have Lauren, who's her mother, and then I have Grace. All right, Grace, by the way, is going to get married in 9 days. So I'll be flying out to Colorado to see my other daughter get married. So with Grace, when I first got involved in the Monrovia Club, we went down and we built a house in Mexico. You guys have been involved in Super Build. I know some of you people have been there. It was something like that, but our club did it. We got there, and where we were building, the people were living in these, whatever they could put together. I'm talking cardboard boxes. I'm talking about tarps over, a set of chairs like you built when you were a kid, your little fort that you built when you were a kid. I mean, whatever they could do. The Taj Mahal of the area was somebody had built a house out of garage doors that was cast off. I mean, it was pretty wild. It was a giant homeless house, trash everywhere. My daughter had never seen anything like that. She was about 13 years old at that time. So over the next 2 days, we built this house, and the house was probably about the size of a good-sized 2-car garage. At the end of it, we hand the people a set of keys. Everybody is bawling. This is changing these people's lives. I mean, could you imagine that? Handing somebody a key to the house that's been homeless for their life. The house has, a roof. It has 4 walls. It has windows. It has a locking door. It's a real house. Electricity. How cool is that we did that for those people? That's kind of the impact that we have. But what was really even more remarkable is what it did for my daughter. Because she saw how she could make an impact on those people's lives by taking a weekend. And she became so thankful. She was 13 or 14 at the time, and kind of the typical teenage girl. She came back so thankful. And she got so involved then in giving to others. She joined Interact. She continued up the line. She's now a public health director in Western Colorado for one of the counties. She went to it for a life of service, and a lot of it was because of what Rotary did. In fact, we were doing a speech contest. She did. I was talking to her about the business plan competition, which is one of these things you guys should be killing it on. We started this last year. We did the business plan competition, and I went to the finals. So I'm talking to her on the phone afterwards, and she said, "Dad, I got to tell you, that speech contest that Rotary put on, it changed my life, and it gave me the skill sets and the confidence to do what I'm doing today." She got her job, she was 29 years old, on February 1st of 2020. That was 2 weeks before COVID hit, and she's the public health director, and she knew nobody in the, she was brand new. All of a sudden, she's in front of the TV and the radio and doing public speaking. All of a sudden, she's, talking to the newspaper, etc. But she had the skill sets to handle it, and she did. She still has the job, so I guess they didn't fire her. Pretty neat. But that's what we do. We change people's lives. The teacher mini grants that you do, I know Howard & Howard does a lot of stuff for you guys. We went a whole list of stuff. You guys are cool. And one of the things that the district is doing is we are looking at driving membership, because we know that we can touch people's lives like that in all of the different things that we do. So we boiled it down to, hey, to drive membership, what we want is we want our clubs to be the place where people want to be, all right? If people want to be someplace, they'll show up. Peter, you'll be back if you have a good time, right? If we're giving value, if we're making a difference, if it's fun, if there's something to it that keeps me wanting to come back, that's what we want to do. We want to make our place, the club's the place that people want to be, and that retains people and it attracts people. And that's a long-term thing. And it sounds so simple, but if everything that we're doing is moving in that direction, forget about all the other noise. The only thing I want to do is make our clubs the place that people want to be. And if they come and they have a great experience, they go and they come back. It's simple, but we also have to invite them to show up the first time. So what I did was we met with the G line, which is the governor line. Dave, by the way, thank you, Rotary Club of Las Vegas. We have Dave Thorson, one of your members, going to be the district governor in 2 years, so give him a hand. But Dave and Carrie Anderson, who follows me, and myself and Gilda, who was last year, we got together. How do we do this? And we all agreed that makes sense. We want to focus on what's most important, and try to eliminate some of the other things, but really put our focus and our energy into the one thing, being the place where people want to be. So then we talked to all of the district committee chairs and the AGs, the area governors, people over several clubs like Bruce. Okay, this is what we're thinking. Anybody have any input? Everybody, yeah, we think that makes sense. And then what we did was we asked the different committee people, hey, can you please give me one or two things that you can do that will help make our clubs a place that people want to be? We don't need to have a bazillion things, but tell me a couple of things that your committee can do. So on Saturday, 2 days from now, we're going to be having a Zoom meeting, and I'm encouraged. I sent an invitation to every one of you. Come on and check it out, because what we're going to be doing is rolling out how we can help the Rotary Club of Las Vegas become even better at what you're already doing such a great job with. Here's 20 things, ideas that you can take advantage of people in the district that have said, yeah, I'm willing to help with that. I have this expertise. I'm willing to give. Here's what I'm going to do to offer you it for free. That's what we're doing. Please join us. We definitely would like to see you do that. And we got to believe that, okay, there's 20 things laid out. Maybe 2, 3, 4 things might be things. There might be something that the Rotary Club of Las Vegas says, oh, we do that and we can help. And what you guys have done so well, you look at something like Santa Claus. Santa Claus, thank you. Santa Claus. You've invited all these other clubs in. That is not a Rotary Club of Las Vegas project. It's a Southern Nevada Rotary project because you guys made that happen. Where's Courtney? Yeah, so thank you. That is so powerful because you're not only getting this job done, you're soliciting help and partnering. I was talking to, where's Todd at? Yeah, Todd over here. What we want to do is also partner with outside organizations. How can we have synergies with people like the Boy Scouts? These guys are leaders. What they instill in our kids, holy moly, maybe we can have them help us, and we at the same time partner with them. So that's what we'll be doing. And part of the way that we're going to do that, this is an example. We're trying to open up doors for people. And I'll kind of wind down with this. If I have an Interact chair, their job is to work with the high school students, and they have a high school Rotary Club, if you're not familiar with Interact. We teach them all the skill sets that every one of us use in business and what we use in our clubs. All right, so they're doing these great things. What's the next door, an invitation that we can give to them? Well, maybe we can open up the door to RILA, which is our Rotary Youth Leadership Award. It's a leadership camp that we do. It changes people's lives. Then what's the next door? We can get them to the youth, the essay contest or the speech contest or the business plan competition. We can get them in there, and et cetera. We keep opening up doors, and then at the end of the thing, they graduate from high school, and you know what we do now? That's it. You guys have it. We do nothing. We just let them go. What we want to do is we want to have a Rotaract club in every one of our areas. I would like to challenge the Rotary Club of Las Vegas, and the reason I'm doing this is because you guys can do it. We want to have a Rotaract club in each one of our areas. I think you guys can pull this off. That let's get together. Rotaract is a Rotary club for 18-year-old to 30 is kind of the sweet spot. It can go older than that now. We've opened it up. And we want a community-based one where it's not just for one college, but that kids that we can onboard them from Interact to Rotaract and just say, hey, you're going to graduate into Rotaract. All right. Now here's the big thing. What does that do for us in the Las Vegas Rotary Club? Well, South Pasadena Club, they got members. They've grown their membership by 41%. They engaged the parents of the interactors. They brought their kids down to Mexico, and when they did that, guess what they had to bring with them? The parents, right? So pretty neat. So anyway, that's kind of what we have going. I want to thank everybody. What you're doing here is just absolutely amazing. Again, we appreciate what you do. Not only did you birth yourselves, 103 years old now, 104, holy moly. But because of you, you have a legacy, just like we have with little baby Quinn. So thank you very much. I appreciate your having me.
Thank you, District Governor Dennis, for taking your time. He's on a whirlwind tour out here in Las Vegas. 7 clubs you're speaking with, I think, this week?
Yes, 7 clubs this week, yes.
All right, very good. So I do have a little memento for you, first of all. I don't know if you've received one of these. This is our book, for our Rotary Centennial book.
Great, I love history.
So if you didn't hear, I think the District Governor just challenged us to build a Rotaract club.
Yes, sir.
All right? So, Janice, you might want to get your video out for this piece, okay? So, you may not know this, but I'm a world-famous DJ in a bunch of, here in Las Vegas, right? So we're going to take that bet you're going to regret, because I'm the best it's ever been, baby. We're going to get it done.
I know that you have a need.
Yeah, the need for speed, yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Dennis, one other thing. We have a presentation real quick. This is going to be our inaugural Rotarian of the Month. And for July 2026, I'd like to ask Miss Rita Burton to come up to the podium. I know, she's blushing. Look at her, So Rita, this is presented to Rita Burton in recognition of your steadfast commitment, unwavering integrity, and exceptional service to the Las Vegas Rotary Club. Your quiet leadership and dedicated stewardship have strengthened our club and foundation enabling us to fulfill our mission of service above self while advancing our theme of back to business and Rotary International's vision to create lasting impact. Your dedication exemplifies the very best of Rotary and inspires all of us to serve with purpose, professionalism, and pride. And this is for you. And in this club, it's not official unless you actually have a pin, so we have that. There you go. Congratulations to our Rotarian of the Month for July 2026. Thank you, Rita. Okay, we got a raffle we got to do. So get out your tickets real quick. This is for the chance to win the pot, half the pot, and draw the joker here. 438-2559. 438-2559. Four three eight 2559. 438-2559. All right, Mike. President-elect Mike Kudiman. Oh, all right. Welcome to America. This is how you make money. You got to draw the joker, you win half the pot. Pick one card, any card you want. Hold it up. 8 of spades. All right, congratulations on not winning, but you did get $10. The pot will roll over to next week. Thank you, and welcome. All right, thank you. And for the Lowry Bucks, 438-2536. 438-2536. 438-2536. Someone has it. 438-2536. Anyone? Bueller? 438-2536. It's about to roll over to next week. All right, come on down, Jarena. We have to do a selfie. Okay, with that, I'd like to ask Past President Dave Thorson to come up and introduce our guest speaker for today.
All right, good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm going to introduce Joseph Atanias from Northern Trust Company. You can read his bio here, so I'm not going to read it to you. I will tell you a little anecdote about Northern Trust. It was founded in Chicago, Illinois, and the original founder had a fireplace in his office which he would only burn birch in. So if you go into just about any Northern Trust branch, including the one here in Las Vegas, there's a fireplace in the front lobby, and that goes back to the founder. So if you're ever on Jeopardy or something, you now know something you didn't know before. Also, this year I'm the treasurer of our foundation. Our endowment currently sits at about $4.2 million, talking about legacy and the ability to serve the community. Yes, give it up. It's all of you. And Northern Trust, as of January, is the investment manager for our portfolio. So the other Northern Trust folks that are here, if you want to ask them about how they're investing our portfolio, feel free to corner them after the meeting. So with that, no further ado, Joseph Atanias. Give it up for Joseph.
I remembered. I mean, how can I possibly forget this thing? It's massive. But thank you all for having me join today. That was wonderful. I really enjoyed just kind of listening and hearing everyone's perspective. We have, call it 30 minutes. I mean, less than that, much less than that. And there is so much that we could potentially talk about. I have some slides. But in all honesty, I feel like just kind of going through slide after slide after slide, especially after you've had lunch, it's just never really the right approach and a good way to take it. So there are so many different things and different directions that we can go in here. Perhaps what I will do is I'll touch on just a few charts, because I think visuals are nice. They kind of help put things in perspective as it relates to what's happening in the economy. I'm really going to focus in on the U.S. economy. And then from there, talk about some of the more topical things that have been dominating a lot of the investment discussions that we've been having lately. We can chat about what's happening in the Middle East and the impact it's having on oil prices and how that feeds through into the global economy, or the U.S. economy in particular. We can talk about the Federal Reserve and what's happening now that Kevin Warsh has taken over at the helm of the Federal Reserve, and what does that mean for monetary policy and just interest rates in the United States. I think we can also talk about artificial intelligence. You can't go one day without hearing or reading about artificial intelligence. And I will tell you from our perspective, when we think about the global economy and we think about investing, there's a lot of things that excite us with respect to AI, and at the same time, there are a lot of things that make us a little bit nervous. Can't talk about all of these things, but I'll just kind of share some thoughts at a very, very high level, and I'll make sure that we leave plenty of time. That way we can talk about whatever it is that is on your mind, some of these things that I mentioned just as examples, but anything else, we can certainly touch on that as well. So let's just jump right into it. If I look at the U.S. economy today, and you were to ask me, how would I describe it? I think the one word that I would use is resilient. I think back to 2025, and I think back to Liberation Day and the tariffs that were announced. I want you to go back in time to the discussions and the conversations that we were having then. The prevailing view was this. You have tariffs that are coming into place. As a result of these tariffs, you are quite likely going to see the U.S. economy contract. More likely than not, you're going to end up with some type of a recession. Prices are going to go up through the roof. That's going to feed through into inflationary pressure that all of us as consumers are going to feel. It's also going to have a negative impact on corporate profit margins, because a lot of the goods and things that they're importing into the U.S., it's ultimately going to eat into their margins, and that's going to feed through into profits, and then profits are also going to take a dip, and the equity markets are just going to go boom. Interestingly enough, that didn't necessarily materialize. And I think we can unpack these tariffs, and there's a lot of layers, but if I just look at this chart over here, which is simply giving you a snapshot of quarterly GDP growth, gross domestic product, it's how we measure economic growth here in the United States. You can see the stacked bar chart shows you the different components. Some things are additive to economic growth on a quarter-over-quarter basis. Some things detract, which make a lot of sense. And that black point is effectively where we landed for that particular quarter. Now, again, you can spend hours on this page, and there's a lot that you can tease out. But if I just focus on, let's just say, the last, call it 4 quarters or 5 quarters of GDP growth, there are really 2 colors, 2 parts of that bar chart that have been supporting economic activity. There's a lot going on, right? But there are 2 things that have been supporting economic activity. And it is the dark green portion, which is consumption. You've probably heard that here in the United States, consumption, right, so you and I going out and spending in the economy drives roughly 2/3 of economic growth. That still is the case. And the second bar, or the second color, that I'd have you focus on is that purple color. We chose an obnoxious color just so it really stands out, right? That purple color is fixed investment. In other words, it is capital expenditures. It is companies spending money in the United States economy. And I think there's 2 reasons for that. One of which is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was put into law last year. And I think there is a nice tailwind that we're seeing as a result of that. When you incentivize businesses to go out and spend, well, guess what? They're actually going to go out and spend. That's part of it. And the other big part of it, at least over the last couple of quarters and expectations moving forward, is AI-related capital expenditures. And we'll unpack that and we'll talk about it. Now, as I look at the green part, the consumption part, it's interesting because when you look at the consumer today, you've probably heard about this K-shaped economy. And we're seeing it today more than we ever have before. This is nothing new, right? But we're seeing it today. It's become more prevalent. What does this K-shaped economy mean? If you take a look at consumption today, or you look at individuals or people just across the United States, and you see this everywhere, but I'm just picking on the US. If you focus on the United States, you can basically break up the consumer into two distinct cohorts. And you can look at the upper income cohort and you can look at the lower income cohort. And interestingly enough, those two cohorts are experiencing the US economy, the exact same US economy in very, very different ways. Why is that? Well, if you look at the lower income cohort, what's happening in the jobs market right now? Not much, just to kind of summarize it. It's at equilibrium. Hiring is very, very low. Firing is also very, very low. So it is at equilibrium, but the reason it makes us a little bit nervous is because it won't take much of a shock to push us out of equilibrium. That's just something to keep in mind. Wages and wage growth is actually quite muted. So if it's not necessarily coming from income gains, then what's really driving this green portion of this bar that we're seeing here in the United States, driving economic activity? It's really coming from the upper part of the K. And the upper part of the K is actually benefiting, not from what's going on in the labor market, but they're benefiting from increased wealth. Think about what's happened in the stock market just over the past couple of years. Think about what's happened to the housing market just over the last several years. Generally speaking, if you own assets, you have done relatively well as compared to if you don't own any assets. And what happens is, when the value of those assets on paper goes up, you become more wealthy and you go out and you start spending an incremental part of that newly created wealth. It's called the wealth effect. That has been carrying the US economy. That and IT-related spending, a lot of this CapEx spending. We'll talk about it in more detail. Overall, our outlook for 2027 is that the US economy is going to continue being somewhat resilient, but this bifurcation is something you have to keep a very close eye on. Affordability is becoming a major problem. The war in the Middle East, certainly not helping when you think about what's happening with gasoline prices. And I can complain all day about gasoline prices coming from California. It's miserable. We were having a conversation about it earlier. But it's problematic, right? It's also feeding into the political conversation. We have a midterm election coming up. As you can imagine, this is going to be part of the discussion, and both sides of the aisle are going to focus on affordability and tell you how they're going to solve the problem, and the other side of the aisle is only going to make it worse. So just prepare yourselves. All right. I'll move on from talking about the U.S. economy. And again, I can come back to all this stuff. Please.
I was just going to ask, when you're talking about the green, you know, it's not necessarily that consumers are spending more on multiple things. It could just be because the output of what they're spending is more.
Yes, 100%. All right, so it's kind of caught me on a technicality, right? Does it mean that consumers are going out and spending on more things, or does it mean that they're just spending more on maybe some of the same things? And the numbers are fungible, right? But nevertheless, when you take a look at economic activity, fortunately, if I classify the consumer as one person or one average person, and we all know there's no such thing as average, but if you just kind of run with it, right, it's actually been supporting the economy. That and, of course, a couple of other things. Let's talk real quick about what's going on in the Middle East, because I think it's kind of interesting, for lack of a better word, but it is also a little bit terrifying. What you're looking at over here on the left, there's a lot of ways that you can look at traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. And, you know, when you talk to people a couple years ago and you would mention the Strait of Hormuz, not everyone would know what that is, but I think today, just about everyone on the planet can pinpoint it and tell you exactly where it is on the map. But last year, or this year, I should say, we started off the year with a bang as far as geopolitics. Going in and capturing Maduro from Venezuela, that was not on my bingo card. Maybe it should have been, given some of the rhetoric that you heard back and forth. Shortly after that, there was a lot of discussion with Cuba. I think that might come back. All eyes then shifted towards Greenland, right? By the way, that is coming back. I think it's going to come back. It's on the back burner, but it's going to come back. And then we move towards Iran. And once you get to Iran, all bets are off. Why? Because Iran sits on the Strait of Hormuz, where you have 20% of the world's oil supply going through its backyard. And if you disrupt that, what happens? The world feels it. And that is exactly what we have going on today. The chart on the left looks at traffic going through the Strait of Hormuz, and just a way to visualize what I think everyone here already knows is that traffic going through the Strait of Hormuz really, really collapsed, obviously, once this crisis erupted. You can see that it's picked back up. There have been a few fits and starts. I'm not going to predict how this conflict is going to be resolved or when it's going to be resolved, I think I'm stating the obvious here when I say it is incredibly complicated. Having said that, I'll give you a few observations. One, the market believes, and we do too, believe that the worst of it is likely behind us. Can't promise that, I can't guarantee it. But if you take a look at the futures market and what are oil prices telling you and expectations for oil prices moving forward, the market believes the worst of it is behind us. Two, we're probably not going back to the old Strait of Hormuz anytime soon. The reality is that the IRGC has proven that they have a very, very strong hold and grasp over a critical global choke point. And the reality is there's going to be a risk premium embedded in the price of oil moving forward as a result of this new reality that we all face. And that's just something we have to be prepared for. And then three, this conflict disproportionately affects different economies around the world. And that's what the chart on the right is looking at. All we're looking at here is net exports of oil and energy from different countries around the world, which basically means if it's a positive bar, these countries export energy into the world. If it's a negative bar, these countries import energy from the rest of the world. Take a look at where the United States is. It's actually barely positive. All else equal, when oil prices go up, it actually means that there are certain pockets of the US economy that benefit from high oil prices. Doesn't mean that we benefit as consumers, but it just means that it's a little bit more complicated. Now, when you take a look at some of these other countries and you think about what's happening across Europe, obviously the challenge there is far, far, far more significant because there are no parts of their economy that actually benefit from rising oil prices. There's a lot more there that we can talk about. I'm just going to kind of move on and touch on the Federal Reserve. Now, if you're Kevin Warsh stepping into this new job, chairman of the Fed, you have a dual mandate. The Fed's mandate is to focus on two things. Try to get the labor market down to a sustainable level, right? The unemployment rate, down to a sustainable level where you believe the US economy is going to do okay. And at the same time, you have to actually focus on price stability, which means get inflation under control at around 2%. In comes Kevin Warsh, and he completely changes things relative to what we've all been used to. Jay Powell, Janet Yellen, Ben Bernanke, and all of their predecessors, one of the things that they really championed was providing forward guidance. Basically coming out and talking to the public and saying, this is how we are thinking about the world, this is how we're thinking about the economy, and as a result of that, this is now our reaction function. When you see this happen in the economy, I'm telling you what this means for us in terms of monetary policy, so as market participants, you can kind of predict what we're going to do with interest rates here in the US. Kevin Warsh comes in and basically says, we don't want to do that anymore. And that's created quite a bit of volatility in the rates market. It's also left market participants to sort of judge for themselves what's likely to happen with interest rates. Now, the chart you have here on the left-hand side, that shows you the federal funds rate. That's the primary interest rate that the Fed manipulates here in the United States. And the dotted part of it is expectations moving forward. Right now, the market is expecting the Fed to raise interest rates. And the reason they expect them to raise interest rates is because when you think about inflationary pressure here in the United States, it's been a little sticky. Why has it been sticky? One, you have higher energy prices. Of course, the conflict that we're dealing with in the Middle East isn't helping. And then two, all of that AI-related spending that we've been talking about that's actually stimulating the economy, that's been supportive to the economy, there's a promise for meaningful productivity enhancements moving forward. But in the near term, think about what's happening with the cost of electronics. And if you follow anything that's going on in earnings season, when companies today are announcing their earnings, you can see a lot of that in technology. They're seeing meaningful profits, and of course, a lot of it is higher prices as a result of all this money going in. Complicates the story for the Fed. For what it's worth, our view, our outlook on interest rates here in the US, and again, we can unpack it and talk about it if there's any interest, the Fed is most likely not going to raise interest rates in September, although it's a coin toss. We think moving forward, the bias is for interest rates to move up from here. And there are some meaningful implications to that for the rest of the economy in the United States, and obviously for asset classes, for the housing market, for mortgages, and you name it. All right, one last thing I will touch on, and then I'm going to stop talking, and that is AI. And I'll kind of share with you this thought at a very, very high level. I do genuinely believe that AI and artificial intelligence and where we are now with AI is one of the most, if not the most, transformational improvements in technology that we have experienced in our lifetime. The scary part is how quickly and how rapidly it is evolving. Things that would happen in technology in the 80s and in the 90s, and that evolution, things that would take roughly 5 years are happening in months. In fact, when you take a look at a lot of these language learning models, whether you're talking about Claude or you're talking about ChatGPT or you're talking about Perplexity or any of these things that probably all of you now have access to and some experience with, its ability to compute and replace what it would take you and I in human hours to do is doubling every 7 months. And there's some anecdotal evidence there suggesting that that rate of improvement is doubling and is shrinking down to approximately every 4 months. If you chart it, it kind of looks like this. And that's actually very, very exciting, but it's also very terrifying. This is part of the reason why you have so many companies spending so much money in this space. The chart you're looking at on the left is actually just showing you a handful of companies, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, Oracle, and CoreWeave, spending on artificial intelligence here in the United States. Last year, these companies spent roughly $400 billion on developing these data centers and on spending money on developing a lot of the software and a lot of these programs. That is, again, part of the reason why the US economy did so well. But take a look at expectations for this year. 2026, it is going to be just shy of $800 billion. In 2027, that number is going to go to $1.1 trillion. In 2028, it is expected to go to almost $1.3 trillion. There is so much money going into this, and it naturally raises a lot of questions. Is the return on capital for all of this money going to be there? Who are the beneficiaries of all of this money that is being spent? And what does this ultimately mean for profits, and what does this ultimately mean for us as investors? One of the questions that I'm frequently asked is this a bubble? So I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm going to show you one last chart that I'd like to point out, and it's the chart you have on the left-hand side here. All we're looking at here is IT spending as a percentage of the US economy. And today, if you look at the far right of that chart, you can see where the AI infrastructure boom is. Basically, we are spending so much money in developing this technology. Again, there's good and there's bad, depending on how you look at it. We've seen this before, relatively speaking, twice in history. Once was during the internet boom in the late 90s and early 2000s. And the time before that was in the PC adoption boom in the mid-1980s. Is this a bubble of some sort? Probably. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a stock market bubble, but there's clearly a lot of money going into it. And when I look at what's happening with AI today, I can't help but see a lot of parallels to what we saw in the past with the internet bubble, the internet boom, and PC adoption. There was a lot of money going into an exciting area of technology. What happened? There was ultimately some consolidation. Not every dollar that was spent ended up seeing a return on invested capital. But in each of those instances, it drastically transformed the way that we live. There were some meaningful investments and opportunities that arose from that, and we as investors just have to be prepared. So when we look at the world today, again, we look at it as a glass half full. We think the economy has been resilient. We continue to see this spending moving forward, which is going to be supportive to the economy. And we think there are a lot of jobs that are going to be created as a result of this. That's one thing I didn't touch on, but what happens with job displacements, we can talk about if there's any interest. But in short, it's not all going to be good. I think there's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad, and as investors, we just have to be very thoughtful about how we allocate capital and where we deploy that money trying to manage through this. I'm going to stop there. I threw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall, okay? I think we've got, call it 10 minutes-ish. All right, there's a lot that we can, again, talk about, some of these things that I mentioned, some of these things that I glossed over, but there's also a lot of stuff that I didn't even get into. So I would love to kind of hear what's on your minds, whether they're questions or comments. I welcome you to share it. Yes, sir. I can always repeat the question if there's no mic. It's okay. Oh, we got a mic.
Well, thank you, Joe. Well, there's a lot to take in. I wonder if you could comment on a concern of mine. You briefly touched on it. Every new introduction of technology has resulted in job displacements. People lost their jobs, and ultimately, I think there were a lot more jobs were created. But past changes in technology have occurred relatively gradually, and there was a period of accommodation. And as you pointed out, with this incredible growth in AI, almost like a cliff, what is the impact of huge number of people losing their jobs early on in their careers, very different than past industrial revolutions?
Yes. I don't have a chart on that in here, but I'm going to kind of describe to you what we've been seeing in the research that we've been doing, because this is, without question, a topic that continues to come up. Job displacement. Are people going to be displaced? First thing, let me kind of share with you that when we look at the data today, we have not seen widespread job displacement yet, okay? So take that as some comfort. Doesn't mean it's not going to come. But as of right now, we haven't seen any meaningful widespread job displacement. What we have seen, however, is companies say, we're just going to take our time with hiring. We're going to try to do more with fewer people. We're going to try to leverage these new tools that we now have access to enhance the productivity of the existing employee base that we have before we go out and hire more people. Now, there are some exceptions to that, obviously. When you think about technology and technology-related companies, yes, there are some anecdotal, stories that we can point out to where companies have made layoffs as a result of, enhancements in AI. But broadly, when we take a look across the entire U.S. and various industries, we haven't seen mass layoffs yet. The one area where we are seeing a challenge, right, is in the youngest cohort, people who just graduate from school. And I mean, I understand it, right? Think about the first job you ever had when you graduated from college, okay? Or my favorite, cohort to pick on is freshly minted MBAs. I was there, okay? You graduate from school, and you have all this knowledge in your head, and you step into your corporate job, and you're like, I'm ready to run this place. Put me in, right? But then you actually start working, and you realize that you're doing, a lot of repetitive work. You have to learn somewhere, right? I mean, it's you start off small. You start crawling before you can walk, before you can eventually run. And a lot of that work, which is repetitive, is the stuff which unfortunately can be replicated using AI. So what a lot of companies are doing right now, particularly in that cohort of people who are just graduated from school, they're not necessarily hiring as much. However, I am also observing a little bit of a change, which is a lot of these companies are realizing, hey, we have to figure out how to use AI. And so now they're actually starting to look for people who I would classify as being AI literate. So in other words, when you think about the jobs market, I can't tell you that there isn't going to be some type of displacement across certain industries. But I do believe that as productivity improves and the cost of doing something goes down, you naturally don't end up hiring less people. Believe it or not, it's a bit counterintuitive. You end up hiring more people because you can do more of it. I think there are going to be more jobs in the future as a result of AI. But just as we've seen anytime there's been some advancement and change in technology, or even think about the Industrial Revolution here in the US, it's wildly disruptive. And to your point, it's happening at such a rapid pace, it's painful. I mean, can everyone be retrained? Can they find a way to adapt so that way they can actually go out and get the jobs that are coming out? It's something that I worry about, candidly. I have little kids. You know, they ask me, what should I be when I grow up? I'm like, I have no idea. But hang in there, just focusing on developing your emotional intelligence, your social skills, how do you interact with people? I think these are the things that younger kids really need to focus on today. It's a lost art. All right, there was another question here somewhere. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for the presentation. You said two things that struck me. You talked about the importance of the consumer in the American economy. The counterpart of that, of course, is that if we consume so much of our national income, we save correspondingly less of it.
Yeah.
That's been a feature of our economy for the last 50 years. And the counterpart of that is that we import a tremendous amount of capital from the rest of the world. That is a function of the deficit that we have on the other side, the trade deficit.
Yes.
So you spoke then about tariffs, and you presented it as if it were a minor fluctuation. But what we have seen happening, in fact, is that the nature of trade relations have been changing quite fundamentally. And the question I would like to hear your view on is, if we are, as the administration policy intends, trying to reduce the trade deficit, then we are deliberately trying to reduce the capital inflows that correspond to that trade deficit. A lot of our private investment in American industry and a tremendous amount of our federal deficit is financed by those capital inflows. What does that mean for interest rates going forward?
Yeah.
If we can't finance our investment and our deficit as easily and as cheaply as we have done over the past 4 years.
Great question. There is a lot to unpack in there. I'm going to try to do it, relatively quickly. But you are 100% right on when you focus in on what's happening with the trade deficit as a result of these tariffs. Interestingly enough, the trade deficit in the U.S., believe it or not, has gone down to levels that we haven't ever seen before, right? Which simply means that we are not importing as much as we were. Now, the reason I came back to this chart is if you take a look at what happened in the first quarter of 2025, not like you can see it from where you're sitting, I'm just going to tell you what I see, and you're just going to believe me that what I'm saying actually is legit, okay? The first, let's call that a turquoise bar that goes really far below the horizontal axis. That is what happened right when these tariffs were announced, okay? Now, these tariffs were announced. It was a huge negative, which basically means we began importing far more than we exported. It was a net negative to economic growth. Remember, what's additive to economic growth is your net exports, not your net imports. So what happened? These tariffs were announced, and what did companies do ahead of the deadline? They stocked up, right? They built up their shelves, and lo and behold, you actually saw net exports go wildly negative. And then what happened the very next quarter? It basically just unwound itself, right? You kind of pulled forward a lot of that, stocking up on the shelf. And then things kind of started normalizing, and then you take a look at where we've been the last 3 quarters or so moving forward, it's probably going to continue to be a net drag. However, the size of that blue bar, that light blue bar, is expected to remain somewhat smaller as a result of these tariffs, okay? Now, how are you going to attract foreign capital in the United States to continue to finance the debt issues and the deficit that we continue to have? A matter of fact, it's a balance of payments. These things have to eventually balance. And this is where you saw President Trump kind of go on a bit of a world tour. I want to say it was last year, it might have been the year before, it's all a blur, getting these commitments from different countries and different regions around the world. And you made announcements, so-and-so is going to invest $500 billion in here, this much money in here, standing up means I got to hurry up. And long-winded way of saying, we have still seen a tremendous amount of money come into the United States, but it's coming in different areas. It's actually coming in different areas. You're seeing a ton of money come into the United States into the stock market. You're seeing a ton of money coming into the United States funding debt. And when I say debt, not only in the public markets, but also private markets, a lot of it has been chasing artificial intelligence. Because when you take a look at what's happening around the world and you kind of see AI as being something that's going to benefit society as a whole, or it should hopefully benefit society as a whole, the one area in the world that continues to be a pioneer in the space is the United States. We can argue China's obviously competing as well, but that is sort of one saving grace or silver lining, if you will, is that there continues to be meaningful attraction for foreign capital coming into the United States simply because of the opportunities that exist. It's just coming in different shapes. Great question. Thank you all.
So that was awesome. Thanks so much. I, for one, have been surviving on artificial intelligence for a long time. So I haven't seen it come for Rotary presidents yet, but we do have something here for you. It's a certificate. A donation will be made in your name to the Ronald McDonald House. Appreciate you flying over here from San Diego. You're, I think, our first fly-in visitor or speaker for a long time, and you're welcome back anytime. That was fantastic. Can we share your slides?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll do that. So that's for you. And we have our Centennial book to take home and share with your office.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Yep, thank you. Okay, it's 13:29. You just received an invite to the Alpine Picnic from Club Runner. Please respond to that before you leave today so we can get a head count so Saleha can start glaring at me, stop glaring at me and say, when are we going to know how many people are going to be there? Okay, remember a week or so ago there was we kind of talked through a fire drill. Well, the real reason we did that is because there's a 1500 flight going to Mexico that I got to be on, so we got to get out of here, okay? Appreciate everybody being here today. Our DG, Dennis Franklin, Eddie for being here. Gino, thank you for being here. Our AG, Bruce, and our guests from Northern Trust. You guys are doing a fantastic job helping us with our foundation and continuing to build that. But as you all know, there's something I got to say. You want to be here. I feel that need. That need for Rotary speed. Adjourned. We got to work on that. Yeah, what's on the table?